Yes, so all my beautiful people, how are you doing today? And welcome to the Alternate Point of View. My name is Tracy Lee, and I appreciate everyone who watches this channel, subscribes to this channel, and anyone who is new, welcome, and anyone who's returning, welcome back. And I hope that everyone is enjoying these videos. I love the comments. Please keep them coming. Also, I share this on my TikTok at Tracy Lee 892, on my Instagram at half and half 1974, on my Facebook at Tracy Lee, and on my X at RACEY0000. So please check those out as well. I have other topics that I talk about. I also have a podcast called I Grew Up a Griswold. That's what I tell myself. So if you'd like to check those out as well, I greatly appreciate that. But please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps the algorithm because when I tried to look up my channel on YouTube, I don't know how you guys find this channel. I'd greatly appreciate if you tell me how you find it, because when I tried to type in my channel, I am like the last thing that pops up on the YouTube algorithm, which is really kind of crappy. So I'd greatly appreciate if you guys would continue liking, sharing, making comments, that kind of stuff, because it really helps. Also, anyway, so today what we are going to talk about is the Supreme Court. They have been hearing a lot of cases this week, and I don't know how they're doing it, because it takes a long time for the Supreme Court to hear these cases. It takes a long time for them to come up with a decision, and then it takes them a long time to write out why they came up with this decision. And it literally takes like weeks, months to hear each decision and each judge's dissertation basically on these decisions. So just a couple of cases that they're going over, for instance, is they're going over immunity for Trump, basically, for any president, really. Like, should presidents be charged with really minute things? Like if, for instance, Trump was not charged with, he didn't get convicted of a crime as far as raping E. Jean Carroll. And how I feel about that entire situation for me is, as a rape survivor, I will just tell you this, which is very hard to talk about because E. Jean Carroll seems very comfortable in that role because she's not a survivor. That's why. I feel if there were an attorney out there who would take a class action lawsuit against E. Jean Carroll, I think that all and anyone who would like to join that class action lawsuit against E. Jean Carroll should sue her for defamation to actual rape survivors, because she actually defamed those of us who are actual victims of rape by calling rape sexy, and by saying that she wasn't ravished. We don't we don't feel as if we've been ravished, by the way, when we've been raped. And we don't find anything about rape sexy. So I can just tell you that right now. No rape victim refers to being raped as being ravished or being sexy in any way. It is a highly, highly traumatic situation. And I can tell you right now that if I wanted to go back and turn back time and I wanted to sue or criminalize the persons, plural, that raped me in my past, whereas I have zero proof of at this moment because it has been years, I would find it virtually impossible to criminally charge them at this point with rape. And honestly, because I didn't do anything at the time about it, because it was so shameful and so embarrassing, and just because of the way that I was raised, and because of the way my mom treated me over trivial things, uh, honestly, that was like, that was like the last thing I wanted to bring to my family was more shame. So I would just say that for E. Jean Carroll to come along from something that happened in the 90s to her during an election time seems kind of convenient. Also, for her to win a defamation suit because Trump clearly, which any person who's being falsely accused of something would do, would be to clearly say, you're a liar, which he has every right to do, is say you're a liar, and uh, and bang his fists on the desk and scream and shout from the rooftops that I didn't do this. And yet she wins $83 million. And what does she do is she goes on TV and says to Rachel Maddow, when Rachel Maddow asks her, what are you going to do with this money you've won? And what does she say? Well, come on, Rachel, let's go on a shopping trip. What do you want? I'll buy you a car. We'll buy everybody a car. We'll get everybody what they want. Let's go shopping. That's not how a rape victim survivor acts. That's not what that is not. I can honestly say that wouldn't be the first thing that would come to my mind if I were able to get some sort of justice for what happened to me. And I'm positive that's not the first thing any survivor would that wouldn't be the first thing that would pop in any survivor's mind if that were the only justice they could get. And I can tell you that there's no money that could get your dignity back or your years of trauma back that you never come back from. And the time that it has taken to push everything down that ever happened in the deepest, darkest place of your mind, to try to never remember, and to try to justify every bad decision you ever made since. So E. Jean Carroll is not a survivor. So whether or not Trump wins this whole situation is irrelevant, and it has nothing to do with being on either side of the aisle. It has to do with what's right and what's wrong. And what's wrong is for someone to falsely accuse and put someone on a criminal trial, and then for them to win money and flaunt it in front of people who are actual survivors. And that, I feel, is wrong. Aside from that, he's also on trial with, oh my gosh, so many things. So apparently right now he's on trial for lying and also hush moneying up Stormy Daniels, which I think whether he had this thing with her or not, regardless, I mean, is really irrelevant. I don't care. Men do what men do. And if he did, so what if he gave her money to tell her to keep her mouth shut about it? It's his business. It was their business. And again, a lot of times with these women and this hashtag Me Too shenanigans, it really, to me, it comes down to money. Much like the Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher who was falsely accused and by two women, and he lost his career because they falsely accused him of rape. And, I think it's crazy that these women wait until these men become in a position that they are in the public eye even more. Now, not to say that Donald Trump has not always been in the public eye, but in a powerful position. Then all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork. So that is what I don't appreciate. I don't think that, like, let's say my persons were to suddenly become in the Senate or Congress or president or whatever. I'm not, why would I at that point decide, oh, you know what, now I'm going to come after you? Would it be disgusting for me to see that person in that position? Would it be, you know, traumatizing? Would it bring up things for me? Yes. But what would it look like for me to suddenly bring up something 30, 40, whatever years later, to the public, and rehash that again when I've already, I mean, it just looks like it just looks like it's for false purposes. So this hush money trial, you know, if that happened, it happened. I don't know. I'm not on this jury. I don't know, but I do know that I did see where they were doing jury selection, and one of the jurors that they were actually going to select for the jury got taken off the jury because of a scheduling conflict. And when they interviewed her outside of the jury, she said she hated Trump and she couldn't be biased anyway, even though she told the judge she could, because she really, really, really wanted to be on this jury, which is very, very messy, you guys. So this is not going to be a fair trial. It's in New York, so we all know how New York is. But you know, there's so many accusations against him that they're trying very, very hard for him not to be able to be in this election, which is whatever. But you know, I understand that the Supreme Court is looking at being able to not go after presidents for, you know, things that were done that are really trivial matters. Like, okay, supposedly they found classified documents in Mar-a-Lago. Well, they also found classified documents in Joe Biden's house, but they're not going after Joe Biden. So again, it all goes back to the what's good for thee is not for me, right? This is how the Democrats and Republicans have been going on back and forth. And the Republicans are no better. And the crazy thing to me is also that our politicians are making astronomical amounts of money. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, you know, got a tip on the stock market, and she is richer than she's ever been, which didn't Congress just vote a while back that they weren't allowed to do that? And then she did that. And then also, like, I'm from Alabama. I say this all the time. I'm a huge Auburn fan. War damn Eagle. But Tommy Tuberville was our coach a long time ago. And I love Tubby. And I was so excited when he got in politics and represented the state of Alabama. And then I find out, you know, good old Tubby, he did the same thing. So something happens when these people get into politics. I think that some of them, I think most of them, for the most part, go in for the right reasons. They have the best intentions, but then they get around this corruption and they see the money. And you know what money does to people? It's like when people win the lottery and then you find out years later they're homeless. It's because they don't know what to do. They just lose their minds. So the Supreme Court is hearing a lot of cases. They're hearing about, you know, making it so that presidents shouldn't be able to be, they should be basically immune to charges. They're also hearing the Idaho abortion ban, which Idaho has banned abortions unless the mother's life is in danger, which I don't see why this is getting all the way to the Supreme Court, considering the Supreme Court already reversed Roe v. Wade and put it back onto the states. So I'm not really sure why this is back in the Supreme Court, because I don't even know why this is a topic of discussion. Every election, they bring up Roe v. Wade. Every election, Roe v. Wade is brought up, and I don't understand why. And I don't understand why they call it health care. Because here's my thing. Getting an abortion, y'all, is not health care. I understand if lives are in danger. I understand if a baby's life is in danger. I understand if a baby is already dead in a mother's body. I understand because that happens. And I understand if a mother is going to possibly die and the baby will die, or there are still births. And I understand these types of situations. So I'm not saying that there aren't medical issues. So those are health issues. But I can again speak from experience. I have a triangle. I call it the triangle. Okay. So I have two sons. I have my oldest son is 28. He'll be 29 next month. And I have my 23-year-old. And my 29-year-old, I placed for adoption. In an open adoption, I chose his parents. I was not in a good place when he was born and was not able to provide for him. And I'm a very big open adoption advocate because closed adoptions get you nowhere. Closed adoptions get you where you don't know where you came from. You are raised without your family history, which unfortunately in my situation, even by choosing an open adoption, my son was raised without his history. He was raised without knowing who I was. His parents closed the adoption rather quickly. So unfortunately, I did not know how he was doing once he was old enough to talk. So we have reconnected, and we've been in each other's lives since he was 18. So, but I am an advocate of open adoption because there are people out there who want to be parents. God did mean for men and women to procreate, but some people can't procreate. And that is what adoption, I believe, is for people who will make great and amazing parents, but for some reason, God has not given them the essential parts to do that. So my son had a wonderful life. He had the family that I wanted him to have. He had the father that I wanted him to have, which is really why I chose them, was for the father, because he was the father that I always wanted to have. So I think that, knowing that, and then my second child, I raised him. It was very difficult because I was pretty much a single parent until my boyfriend came along, and then he was in his life, from the time he was 6. So it has been a tough time. And if you listen to my podcast, I Grew Up a Griswold, you would hear the story of why I say I have the triangle is because I did have an abortion when I was 16. I was forced to have the abortion by my own mother. So if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear that story. I'm not going to get into that, but I will tell you, having an abortion is something you never forget. It's a regret that you will live with for the rest of your life. It's kind of like being raped. It's not fun. It's not the sound I'll never forget, the coldness I'll never forget. And I have 2 boys. I've always wanted an Asian baby girl. And I believe that, that was my Asian baby girl. And my punishment, I don't want to say punishment because I love my boys, But I believe I was never granted an Asian baby girl because I believe I killed my baby girl. So I know all the spectrums, all the levels. So for people to be out there, screaming abortion access saves lives, no, you're murdering a child that you don't want out of inconvenience for you. I watched a TikTok video the other day where a girl showed her pregnancy test, and she was like, check out my pregnancy test. I'm positive. And she's like, and she was crying. She's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? She's like, I already made the appointment. I'm a conservative's nightmare. And I'm like, what the? You are posting this on TikTok? Like, what is wrong with you people? That's not healthcare. That's not healthcare. And then there's these Plan B commercials on TV where they're like, Plan B, it means I got this. Plan B, it's my backup. Plan B, it means I'm taken care of and I know that I'm sure that I'll be good. No, that is not birth control. Well, you know what birth control is? Birth control is you take a pill or you get the shot or you put an implant in your body or whatever you got to do for birth control. You also wear a condom because you don't want to get an STD. You also don't open your legs to get your body count higher because that's what people are doing now. This is body count. Body count to me is how many people died. But apparently today it's how many people you have screwed and how high can you get that count. Because that's what you want to marry, right? That's what you want to know, So, I mean, I don't know when you're getting married and you're saying your vows and, maybe when you're getting engaged, you'd be like, honey, how high is your body count? And your fiance tells you, or soon to be fiance, well, I mean, I was, I'm at about 150. How's yours? Is that a thing? Is that where we're at right now? And then, you might want to probably ask, how many abortions have you had? Because if you want children in the future, that may never happen because, she may have already damaged her insides to the point that that's not going to happen. Also, you might want to get tested for a lot of things because, yeah, if the body count's that high, who knows what you got. Another thing is again, like I said, I don't know why we're discussing abortion at the Supreme Court again. I don't know why they took this case on. The Supreme Court is very picky about what cases they take on, and I'm not really sure why they took this case on when they already overturned Roe v. Wade and they already sent the decisions to the state level. So I find it odd that our country is highlighting cases in states and saying, I like Texas. We had a case here in Texas where a woman wanted to get an abortion because she said her life was in danger if she carried the child full term. I don't know the details of the case, but it went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court, and the Texas Supreme Court denied her the abortion. She had to go to another state to get it done. To me, there's something in the case that we don't know about for them to deny her the abortion. So for the state to deny her the right to the abortion, there had to be something in her medical record to say that her life was not in danger. I believe quite possibly it could have been that maybe the child was not going to be born a perfect child, that maybe the child was going to be born with, a defect or a disability or something to that effect. Because I'm pretty sure that if, in a perfect world, right, if you knew your child was going to be born with Down syndrome, or you knew your child was going to be autistic before they were born, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, if they had the option, would be like, nope, not me. I can't do it. And that's really sad. I also believe in Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest. And I also believe that a lot of these people who are having these abortions, which is, it's crazy because I'm pro-life, I'm pro-adoption, but I also believe, in some weird, twisted way, this is kind of, I don't know if it's God. I don't want to say God because God would never agree to murdering children and babies, but I do believe there is some method to this madness because these people don't deserve to have children. These people don't deserve to be parents. So that is why, again, I am so highly advocated for open adoption. Now, I know a lot of them scream rape, incest. The amount of rape and incest cases are so small compared to unprotected sex and body count bragging that does not compute. The amount of cases where someone's life is in danger or the carrying a pregnancy to term is in danger. I know the parents that I chose for my child. One of the reasons that I chose these parents was the father. I absolutely, it's funny because if you listen to my podcast, I grew up a Griswold. I have many, I guess you can call them daddy issues, whatever. My father was a total horrific man, but the guy that was the father that I chose to be the father of my son resembled my dad, which is weird, but he was the complete opposite of my father. And the woman, she had like 5 miscarriages. They wanted a baby so badly. And she suffered through 5 miscarriages in order to have a child. And then they finally chose the route of open adoption. And that made me realize that they had so much love to give. So when I'm looking at these cases that the Supreme Court is taking on, I'm trying to understand, you know, I will tell you this. I have been to the bodies exhibit. If you've never been to a bodies exhibit, it's absolutely incredible. Most of the bodies that are donated to the body exhibit are Asian, so I think it's an Asian thing. But the bodies exhibit tours around the world. I've been to 3 of them. I've been to one in Miami, I've been to one in Atlanta, and I've been to one in Las Vegas. And I have seen the bodies exhibit where they have actual babies in jars at every stage of from conception all the way. So for people to believe that a child is not a child at conception, they are wrong. It is not a clump of cells. Like I did a case on the mother that went on vacation and left her 16-month-old child in a crib, playpen, so she could go on vacation for 10 days, and the child starved to death. Because that is what these people today consider a child, is a clump of cells, a parasite. They say that a child is a parasite that lives off their host. And they say that even a child after birth, I was told in one of my clips that a toddler could live on their own without their mother. No, they can't. That's proof right there. This mother was sentenced to life in prison, plus, because her 16-month-old isn't a parasite. She couldn't live without her mother. She couldn't live without care. But I got an argument from some nitwit college kid that said, oh, a toddler can live on their own because, they're no longer They don't need their host. I'm sorry, what? So this is the mindset of the youth of today. So this is a crazy thing that the Supreme Court is having to hear all of these cases. They're hearing cases about obviously the abortion, obviously the Trump presidents being immune, and they are hearing other cases as far as, oh my gosh, there's so many cases they're hearing about, but the biggest ones are Trump. They're also hearing about man, I don't even know how they listened to all of this week. Like I said, every day has been something different. They're trying to hear oral arguments regarding I can't even keep up. I've tried to listen to all of them, but they're just so many cases they're talking about. I'm trying to find all the cases that they're talking about right now because there's so many. They don't even have them all listed on here. There's so many cases that they're okay. So oddly enough, Amy Coney Barrett is kind of against the whole immunity thing for presidents, and she's the one who was appointed by Trump, but she says it's a slippery slope because how far does the immunity go? And also, I don't know how far they're going to go with the whole abortion situation. I don't know what this is going to look like going forward. Also, I think that TikTok ban is going to go to the Supreme Court. TikTok has no intention of selling. Their parent company has no intention of selling. So that will go on. I know it was signed by the president. Oh God, did I say president? Sleepy Joe. It was signed by Sleepy Joe. But TikTok will appeal it. They are not going to sell. That was just released. They won't sell. It will go to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will decide if this was a constitutional thing. Because obviously, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have X, we have Snapchat, we have all of these other outlets. They're trying to say that China is taking information, blah, blah, blah. But then again, I mean, my God, I mean, think about it. You go to Target, you go to Walmart. I mean, I don't go to Walmart or Target, but you go to shopping, you look something up online, and bam, it's in your feed, right? So who's spying? I mean, someone's spying on us. So if you're going to block TikTok, which you know how I feel about TikTok, I'm not a huge fan of TikTok. I think it's the devil. I mean, my gosh, that girl posted the video about going to get an abortion. She can't wait. There's men on TikTok with full on beards and makeup that are speaking to your kids. There are things that are on TikTok. There are men breastfeeding babies on TikTok. I mean, there's some pretty awful things on TikTok. But we have free speech, right? That's what they say. So I think that TikTok ban will probably be found unconstitutional because if you're going to ban TikTok, then you got to ban all this other shenanigans. There is just no regulation on the internet. So I think it goes back to parental control. Parents. Parents need to parent, and the government needs to stay out of your business. And parents need to do better. But if these are the kind of people that are going to grow up and be parents, we are in trouble. Which is why I keep saying all the time that there needs to be more Jesus. But I think there's about to be more Jesus. People just aren't ready. So Trump has missed his mother-in-law's funeral. He has missed his wife's birthday. He is going to miss his son's graduation, all because of this trial going on. We also have mayors that are in this country that are stealing money from their cities. And if in case you haven't heard about the Dalton, Chicago mayor, she is making over $200,000 a year from her city, and she is stealing money. She has the entire police department protecting her. Now the FBI is involved. She is under investigation. And by the way, she's a black woman. So, yeah. Also, Fannie. We can't forget about Fannie in Atlanta. She's the one who's pressing charges against Trump for the election fraud. And yeah, can't forget about her, who stood up in front of a church in a pulpit and said, Christ, Jesus, Savior, all the things 92 times. And yeah, she is still getting to be on the case. Because why? Because, Lord Jesus, I'm an imperfect child. I can't be a black woman in a position of power and be a perfect child too. Oh, Lord, Lord, I can't do it. And then everybody around her going, amen, amen. And Letitia James, let's not forget about her. Yes, that's my dog shaking in the background. Can't forget about Letitia James in New York. She's the one pressing all these charges against Trump too. She's got her stuff going. But because guess what? She's a black woman. She can't be charged. She can't be charged. No. Why in the world would that happen in America? So my point is that we are in this topsy-turvy world of these things that are going on. We have things that are going to trial that shouldn't have gone to trial, like the Arizona ranch trial with the old 74-year-old man, where they had no evidence, no proof, no nothing, took that poor man to trial. We had the Apple River stabbings, where that man was defending himself, and he is now going to go to prison after being harassed by 13 people against one. So sorry for your luck, but there are consequences and repercussions to your actions, kiddos. There's also the young man in Arizona where he was beaten to death by the Gilbert Goons. Those kids are out on bail. And Preston Lord lost his life. Go figure. Tell me, just make it make sense. Make this crazy, crazy world make sense. Much like we have all these protesters, when you go around and you ask them, what does from the river to the sea mean? I don't know. I just picked up this sign at the stand over there. You don't know what it means? Nope. I just want free Palestine. What does that mean? I don't know. Stop genocide? Oh, okay. Did you care when Rwanda was happening? Did you care when the Congo was happening? Did you care when Afghanistan? Did you care when the Jews were happening? Did you care about any of the other genocidal things going on in the world? No. No, you didn't. You didn't protest any of that. So you don't know what from the river to the sea means. You don't know what all these chants are that you're saying. You don't know what they mean. So they even ask, like, are you proud of saying these things? So they're like, yeah. And they go, well, what do they mean? And then they ask, does it bother you that October 7th happened? Do you not blame Hamas at all for saying, uh, for breaking, breaking the peace and going over there and causing this and taking hostages and raping people? And they're like, no. And they're like, you do know that Hamas could stop this, but they're not. And they're also saying intifada. And they go, are you proud of saying intifada? Do you know what that means? And they go, no, I don't know. I don't know what intifada means, but you're saying it. So basically, in simple translation, what intifada means is uprising. Clear out all the Jews. What Palestine wants, they say, is to go back to its original state. The thing is, though, is Palestine was never a state. It's always been Israel. And Palestine doesn't take responsibility for the fact that they voted Hamas in. Yeah. So these white kids, and then there's the elemental P community that are also Free Palestine. Have fun with that, y'all, because if you were in Gaza, yeah, you'd get thrown off a rooftop. They have drag queens in front of little kids saying Free Palestine. These kids don't even know what Palestine is. They don't even know where Palestine is. But drag queens. Yeah, y'all have fun with that because y'all get drugged through the streets in Gaza. I don't think you people understand, but that is not acceptable there. So, what are you doing? So, I just think what is happening with our Supreme Court hearing these cases is absolutely obnoxious to me. I think there are other cases they could have chosen to listen to. I think, like listening to this whole immunity thing, that's ridiculous. I think Trump is getting more attention than he needs to be. He needs to work his own crap out. I think that the abortion situation, you know what? They already decided that and they passed it down to the states, let the states resolve their own issue. And honestly, I think that should be a non-issue. We shouldn't even be talking about that anymore. I also think that this whole Palestine-Israel thing, I think that they need to work that out amongst themselves. It's over there. I get that we have some type of skin in the game, but we have our own things going on here in America, and we need to figure that out ourselves. Also, I think that there are other trials coming up that our Supreme Court could have heard about. I think there are things that have gone to the Supreme Court that should have been heard that weren't heard, that they denied. And I think there are things that the Supreme Court could be doing with their time that could be making a difference for our country. They heard a case about homelessness, making it criminalized. I don't know what their decision is going to be on that. I feel like you can't criminalize homelessness because it's not a solution to the problem. You're going to do what? Put homeless people in jail for what? Then you're going to crowd the jails. And then what are you going to do with the criminals? Because we're not doing anything with criminals. So you're going to put homeless people in jail, leave the criminals out on the streets, and you're just releasing criminals. So I'm not really sure why that got brought up to the Supreme Court when you have other things that need to be brought up to the Supreme Court. Like, for instance, why are we not criminalizing the criminals? Why are we allowing states to release criminals over and over and over again who end up shooting cops, beating cops, and beating people, shoving people in the subway, killing people, repeat offenders? Why are those things not being seen in the Supreme Court? But you're going to talk about criminalizing homeless people. Why are we not talking about criminalizing states for giving homeless people and drug addicts drugs and needles and allowing them to defecate on the streets. Those are things like hold the state and the cities and the counties responsible for doing that. The homeless people are homeless. These cities, counties, and states seem to have all this money to build new football stadiums and new buildings and new high rises. I mean, my God, we have not fixed East Palestine, Idaho, the train accident that happened there. We have not fixed Hawaii, Lanai with the fires. We have not fixed Flint, Michigan with the water. We have not fixed so many things that have happened in this country, but yet you're going to criminalize homeless people? Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of homeless people out there that are making bank, okay? I mean, I don't know them personally, but I've seen some homeless people who are standing in the middle of the road asking for money, and then they go walk over to a nice F-150, $100,000 truck. I've seen that happen here in Austin. Trust me. But I got to get ready for work, so I got to stop rambling. But I appreciate y'all very much. I thank you for listening. Starting in May, I'm just going to let you know it is Asian Heritage Month. So every Asian Heritage Month, I talk about Korean facts every day. I put out a Korean fact because I am learning my heritage. I will be learning a new Korean word every day because I'm trying to learn more Korean. Every episode I start off with hello, and every episode I end with thank you. So every episode in May, I will have a new Korean word, and hopefully you will learn Korean with me, and hopefully you will learn a fun fact about Korea. So thank you so much, 감사합니다, for listening to this channel and watching this video. And please check out my podcast, I Grew Up a Griswold. You'll learn even more about me if you want. 감사합니다.